The Galactic Council had met for 3 cycles without rest. The representatives of the most advanced civilizations in the known universe sat in exhausted silence as Admiral Zekvaris of the Thalassian Empire delivered his final assessment.
The Mavorians have breached the Orion defensive line,
The scaled being stated, his voice amplifier unable to hide the resignation in his tone.
Their hive fleets will reach the core worlds within 2 standard months. The collective has fallen. The Araxian Dominion has surrendered. The Jidun Consortium has gone dark.
Ambassador Eteral of the Lumini rose slowly, her bioluminescent skin dimming as she spoke.
Then this council has failed. 50,000 years of galactic peace, undone within a decade.
There is one option remaining,
Said Councillor Drett, the ancient Volucrid representative, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic star map.
though I hesitate to even suggest it.
The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to a small blue-green planet rotating slowly in the galactic display.
The humans.
Whispered Eteral.
You cannot be serious.
We have exhausted all conventional options.
Drett continued.
The humans are...
Unpredictable, dangerous, barely civilized.
Interrupted Zekvaris.
They've only achieved interstellar capability within the last century. They still wage war amongst themselves.
Precisely.
Said Drett.
They are everything the Mavorians are not. They are our wild card.
Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Alliance vessel Intrepid had been expecting a routine patrol through the Tau Ceti system when the massive Thalassian diplomatic vessel emerged from hyperspace less than 1,000 kilometers off her port bow.
Sensors, report.
She barked, as warning klaxons blared throughout the bridge.
Thalassian Registry, Captain.
Replied Lieutenant Park.
Diplomatic clearance codes. They're requesting to dock.
He paused, his eyes widening.
Ma'am, they're transmitting that they have the entire Galactic Council on board.
Elena's eyebrows shot up. In the 30 years since humanity had been reluctantly admitted as an observational member of the Galactic Council, not once had any high-ranking council member set foot on human soil, let alone the entire governing body.
Verify those codes and clear them for docking.
She ordered, straightening her uniform.
And someone get me Alliance Command.
2 hours later, Elena stood in the Intrepid's conference room facing 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The atmosphere was tense. Most of the council representatives regarded the humans with a mixture of apprehension and poorly concealed disdain. Admiral Zekvaris activated a holographic display showing a massive fleet of organic-looking ships.
The Mavorians are a hive mind species from beyond the galactic rim. They consume all organic matter in their path to fuel their expansion.
Like locusts.
Murmured Elena.
If locusts were the size of planets and possessed technology that could extinguish stars,
Replied Councillor Drett dryly.
our combined fleets have proven ineffective. Their hive mind anticipates all standard tactics. They learn, adapt, and overcome any strategy we deploy.
And you've come to us because...
Elena began,
Because you humans are chaotic.
stated Ambassador Eteral bluntly.
Your tactics defy logic. Your strategic decisions frequently contradict established military doctrine. You take risks no sane species would consider.
Elena struggled to maintain her diplomatic composure.
You've ignored our petitions for full council membership for decades, citing our unpredictability as a primary concern. Now you're here because of it?
We are here
Said Drett.
because humans are the only species the Mavorians cannot predict. You are our last hope.
The emergency session of the Earth Alliance Security Council was unlike anything President Hana Okafor had ever experienced. The chamber was filled beyond capacity, with representatives from every human world and colony attending both in person and via hologram,
They expect us to commit our entire fleet to this effort.
said Admiral Cheng, looking grim.
Our entire fleet. Every ship we have to battle an enemy we've never encountered.
The Galactic Council has agreed to provide us with their most advanced technology,
countered General Santos.
shield harmonics, weapon systems, FTL drives that would have taken us centuries to develop on our own.
A fair trade for being their sacrificial lambs,
muttered the Martian representative. President Okafor raised her hand for silence.
We have been seeking a place at the galactic table for generations. Now we are being invited, albeit under desperate circumstances, to save the very civilizations that have regarded us as barely more than clever primates.
She paused, studying the faces around her.
But that is not why we will accept. We will accept because this threat endangers all sentient life, including our own. We will accept because that is what humans do. We face impossible odds. We adapt, we improvise, and we overcome.
The room fell silent.
The Council has given us access to all tactical data on the Mavorian threat,
continued Okafor.
Admiral Cheng, General Santos, assemble a planning team. I want unconventional strategies that no logical species would ever consider. I want our unpredictability weaponized.
3 weeks later, aboard the Thalassian flagship Eternal Vigilance, Admiral Zeke Varus stared at the human officer before him in disbelief.
You want to do what?
Commander Alejandro Diaz of Earth Alliance Special Operations repeated himself calmly.
We want to deliberately infect ourselves with a modified version of the Rigelian fever virus.
That is madness.
Sputtered Zeke Varus.
The fever is lethal to most carbon-based life forms.
But not to humans. Not this modified strain.
Diaz explained.
Our immune systems will fight it off, but while it's in our system, it will alter our brainwave patterns just enough to make us completely unreadable to the Mavorian hive mind.
You propose to deliberately sicken your own soldiers?
It's an advantage the Mavorians won't expect,
Diaz stated.
And there's more.
As the human outlined the rest of the battle plan, Zikvaris felt a mixture of horror and reluctant admiration. No Thalassian commander would ever propose such a strategy, and perhaps that was precisely why it might work. The battle for the Arcturus Gate unfolded unlike any conflict in recorded galactic history. The combined fleet of the Council races formed a perfect, textbook defensive formation, exactly as the strategic simulations had dictated. The Mavorian hive fleet responded exactly as predicted, their bioships spreading out to envelop the defenders in a classic pincer movement. And then the humans arrived. Captain Elena Reyes, now commanding the advanced hybrid vessel Defiance, led the first wave. Her ships didn't enter the battle in formation at all. They appeared at seemingly random coordinates across the battlefield, their newly installed phase shift drives allowing them to materialize where no logical tactician would position them.
All ships, execute chaos protocol,
She ordered.
random jump patterns, unpredictable weapons cycling. Remember your Shakespeare, though this be madness, yet there is method in it.
The human vessels began to dance through the Mavorian formations, their movements dictated by an algorithm based on the seemingly random patterns of Earth's weather systems. No two ships followed the same pattern. No two captains made the same tactical decisions. The Mavorian hive mind, for the first time in its existence, hesitated. On the Eternal Vigilance, Admiral Zakvaris watched in astonishment as the human fleet performed maneuvers that contradicted every principle of space warfare he had ever learned.
They're flying directly into the enemy formation,
he murmured in disbelief.
No shields, weapons powered down.
Just watch,
said Counselor Dre beside him. The lead human vessels, appearing helpless, drew the Mavorian bioships into a tight cluster, and then detonated the modified Rigelian fever virus they had been carrying, not as a weapon against themselves, but as a massive bioelectric pulse that disrupted the hive mind's connection to its ships. In that moment of confusion, the second wave of human vessels emerged from hyperspace, directly between the Mavorian ships.
Point-blank range.
whispered Zakvaris.
They'll be destroyed along with their targets.
But the humans had calculated with precision. Their ships released thousands of small manned fighters that attached themselves to the Mavorian vessels. Human soldiers, their minds obscured by the modified virus in their systems, breached the organic hulls and planted quantum disruptors directly into the neural pathways of the living ships. As the Mavorian fleet began to convulse, a third wave of human ships appeared, accompanied by the more conventional forces of the Council races, now executing a strategy that complemented the chaos the humans had introduced. By the time the battle ended, the Arcturus gate was littered with the floating remains of Mavorian bioships. The path to the core worlds had been secured, at a cost that would have been unacceptable by any logical calculation, but the humans had deemed it necessary, and so they had paid it. 1 standard year later, the Galactic Council convened again. This time, a new seat had been added to the ancient chamber. President Okafor stood before the assembled representatives, her expression solemn despite the victory they had achieved. The war was not over. The Mavorians had retreated but were not defeated, yet the tide had turned definitively.
Humanity accepts with humility the Council's invitation to full membership,
she said.
We recognize that our methods are often unconventional by your standards, but perhaps that is our contribution to this community of worlds, to remind you that logic and order, while valuable, are not the only paths to survival.
Admiral Zakvaris, now the Council's military coordinator, rose to address her.
For 50,000 years, the Council has valued predictability, harmony, and methodical progress. We saw humanity's chaos as a threat to that order.
He paused, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was the Thalassian equivalent of a rueful smile.
We failed to understand that the galaxy is not a controlled environment, that chaos is as natural as order, that adaptation requires variation, even wild variations. Humans reminded us of this truth.
As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Ederall approached Elena Reyes, who had been promoted to admiral following her role in the Arcturus campaign.
I must admit,
Said the Lumini, her skin glowing with respectful blue pulses.
I never understood why your kind places such value on a concept you call thinking outside the box.
Elena smiled.
That's because most species in the galaxy never realized they were in a box to begin with.
Ederall considered this.
The Mavorians will return. They are adapting even now to your unpredictability.
And we'll be ready.
Replied Elena.
Because if there's one constant about humans, it's that we're always changing. We're the wild card even we can't predict.
Somewhere in the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, the Mavorian hive mind was indeed adapting, evolving, preparing for a new approach. But for the first time in its ancient existence, it experienced something new, an emotion its billions of connected minds had never before encountered: uncertainty.